computer. Okay.
Okay, accept.
I'll do a 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Discover Energy Work. I'll see if I can get that right today. So welcome back. Today Jana Rogge caught my eye because she's a very interesting person in the groups that I follow on Facebook in remote viewing. And of course, I lived in Germany, and it looks like Jana's really going to town in Germany. She's the editor of the Aperture, which is the International Remote Viewing Association magazine. She's working with a guest who was here, Jeffrey Mishlove, on his New Thinking Aloud magazine as well. And she's also pushing forward the research into remote viewing, how it works and, what the limits are and so on. In fact, we're probably going to talk about that. But I just reached out to her on Facebook and said, would you come and talk to my little group of people that are interested in the stories behind how people are doing what they're doing, and then some interesting anecdotes. So thanks for coming, Jana. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm fine.
That's
Just
great.
came in from an early morning dog walk, so that's my start into the day.
Right. Yeah. And you're, I sort of want to jump in there because, like, you're in quite a conservative country as far as, I lived in Germany, and, remote healing, or even like you could say energy healing, is against the law. Yeah. And you're in this field of remote viewing in Germany. How did you get started? Were you a kid that was bending spoons, or what got you interested?
Yeah, so I'm bending spoons now, but I didn't as a kid. I don't remember real big psychic experiences in my early childhood. It was just 13 years ago in 2010 when I had my first event happening, just unintentional. I stumbled across remote healing. So this was my start into the field. I didn't seek for it. It just happened. And at that time,
you want to tell us what? Were you facing a crisis, or was?
No. I was visiting friends. They live on the island of Tenerife, so Canary Islands. I visited them, and so actually the man told me he had back pain for years, very strong back pain, and the doctors don't know what's the cause or the origin, and they don't find anything, and yeah, it hurts. And we came into talking, and I just had this idea of, I asked him, please lay down on this sunbed and let me have a look. And I had my hands on his back, and I felt the energy moving. It was totally new to me, so I never.
It's kind of funny that you just spontaneously had the idea. Yeah, okay, we should try this.
Yeah, we should try it. And I felt the energy moving, and so it moved very in this space on the one side, and it was kind of stuck on the other side. And I just thought, what if the other side would move in the same direction? And I gave it a little push, right? Just energetic, and both sides move this way. And he got up after 5 minutes and said, "Oh, there's no pain anymore. What did you do?" And so we both were very shocked.
Yes.
And so his wife then went on and got me all her friends. Whoever had an issue, she sent them to me, and go to Jana and let her have a look at it and see if she can do anything. So this way I learning by doing.
Well, how old were you? Were you like early 20s? Well,
no, 30. So
I don't
so I'm 45 now, so this would be 32 then. Yeah, in the
Okay.
30s, early 30s.
Okay. That's
So
out of the blue,
I've
really.
always been open to this field, right? So I haven't ever been a skeptic, or it was just, it happened and I had to deal with it. And I had a problem. So for a moment, I thought about what if I would make this a profession?
Yes.
It normally comes up, this question. You're apparently able to help people, so why don't you make a profession out of it? And as you mentioned, the German law is very strict. And in the meantime, I know people who are doing this, and they all have to cover it under certain terms. So you won't find an open advertising for energy healing, or maybe not in a medical context.
Yes.
So, but I decided not to make it a profession, but for different reasons. But at this time, I just stumbled upon it, and I had to find out how it works. So first I was touching the people. And then I discovered, oh, I don't have to touch them. Apparently it's enough if I am in the same room. And then I discovered, I don't have to be in the same room. I just have to talk to them once or see a picture. And later I discovered it's not necessary that I have ever met these people. I can just address them mentally. And what I did then, and this speaking in time, this is about 2 or 3 years later, it's just I was linking into the people. So it's like I draw a copy.
Yep.
And I would feel what the person feels that is different from my body perception. So if your knee hurts, my knee is hurting. It's not hurting in the same intensity, so it's probably a bit lower.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
very okay. But I can then, it's a good diagnostic because I can feel what's going on, and even if in most cases I can't name it, so I have a real intense medical background. I did some medical training just because I'm interested in everything and wanted to find out how the bones are named and the structures and whatever. But with linking in and mirroring the person, I can feel the issue. And I tried not to manipulate. It's just, I think in my head, what should be different that this problem goes away, so that this pain goes away? And I try different approaches. What if we twist something? What if something moves? Or what if an inflammation goes away or whatever? It's just trying to find a solution, but not doing it. And it's kind of
Are you saying
happening.
you would think
Yeah.
of the solution, but not
Yeah.
actually, like if I said, oh, you have to move your head, I say, I think she has to move her head, but just thinking of it, and that would be enough?
No. So first I just try to find out what's a possible solution. You have the pain. I mirror the pain, and there are a lot of different variations what you could do to solve it. You
Right.
never know where it comes from. So for a while, I also looked into the reason and what it's connected to, and so, but this doesn't help the process, at least for my way of doing it.
Great. Yeah.
So I just play with my own in my own body. So if I have your pain in the neck or in the knee, and then I try some things, and there will be one that works, and I feel okay if I do this, and then it feels lighter.
Okay.
And then I take this information, send it back, and disconnect. And I experience that in a lot of cases, not in all cases, it works. So the other body apparently adapts the information or accepts the information and does something. So it's healing with your own energy or
Right.
yeah. I don't manipulate things. I don't put energy in it or draw energy out of it or whatever. I just send an information.
Right.
So on. But this is what I found out over years, and I did all the other stuff before and just walked my way.
Well, it sounds like you develop your own intuitive approach to things. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, but to develop an own approach was I would have liked to have somebody who teaches me. And I was searching for years to find other people who know what I'm talking about. And you can't just openly talk with people. It's
I wanted to
coming.
say, like, what it was the we'd call it in psychology, psychosocial effect, where did you feel like, I now can't really share part of my life with the people I normally would,
Yeah. Yeah. At this time, I was running a big marketing advertising agency. I've always been self-employed, owned companies. So at this time I had a design agency and we had 18 people. So I had to deal with a lot of business clients and stuff. And I was hesitant to approach my business client with this language or even show them my other side. So for a while I had like 2 different identities. I even had a different name. So I wrote my first one of the books I wrote under a different synonym. And I thought if they find out that I'm doing the psychic stuff, they just won't take me serious or won't trust me.
Was there angst? Was there like a certain amount of anxiety around it? Just because, like in Germany, it's almost illegal. I mean, like I would say, if you use the term distance healing, it is illegal in Germany, as far as my understanding.
No, it was not a legal problem. It's just so I have this business clients and even like say authorities or just very serious government. So we had some government clients, and I thought we would lose the contracts if they say, "Oh, this is just a woo-woo person," and she's telling strange stuff. And
you become crazy. You become the sort of crazy cat lady genre just because you're.
Yeah. So, and that's not how I see myself, right? This is not how I see myself.
No.
And also, so
can I
have a very
because no, do tell me. But I wanted to tell you how what you just shared with me was so interesting, because when I was in China with my teacher, he taught us he said, well, you can feel it inside your body, but that means you need to fix it in yourself. Or you feel it outside your body, and then you feel the air in front of you, and you can feel where it is in the body. So he was showing me the remote diagnosis outside the body. But he literally said, yeah, you kind of like invite a copy of their energy into you, and then you're going to feel what their problem is. You get a very accurate diagnosis, but you also have a certain detox problem to solve.
Oh yeah, and I experienced this one. Fortunately with a disease that isn't very harmful, and I experienced that I kept a copy of the disease and I had to find out how to detox all by myself. So nobody told me. I learned later that there are techniques.
What was the disease? Or I mean, can you share? Is this too personal?
Oh, I have to. Oh, this is probably. No, I can't name it yet because it's just a naming problem.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It was has something to do with chronic pain. And so
fibromyalgia.
no, you don't start to guess. No.
I won't.
I got rid of it and I found a detox mode. So my problem at this time was I was looking for people, I was looking for connection, I was looking for information, and I found a lot. So if you it's a saying, if you're pregnant, the world is full of kids.
Yes.
And if you want to buy a car, then you see a lot of cars just from your brand that you intend to buy. So I met a lot of psychic people in this time, and I had a problem. I always had a problem with their series and schools. I wouldn't say it's a general problem. It's just what happened to me, that every time I got in contact with someone where I thought, oh, this sounds similar to what I experienced, they tried to give me a whole concept of how the universe is functioning. So they give you a complete explanation, and this is it. And I can teach you how the world works, and including higher entities or not, including whatever. So there are a lot of different theories, and I have no problem with theories, but they don't call it theories. They call it their knowledge.
It's dogma, isn't it? It's a certain dogma, or
I understand that humans have a certain need for completing a picture. It's just the built-in module in our perception that we complete pictures, and we are feeling uncomfortable if we just have to say, I don't know. But in this case, I knew just from my experience with the evolving of these steps, and I know I just put my toe into the water. I have no idea about the whole ocean. And I don't trust anybody who wants to explain me the world and hasn't had much more experience or insight, just probably just from our perception from the human nature. You can't see behind certain things or certain singularities, and you can't master. So, and this always discouraged me from going with these schools, and this led to a kind of resignation. Okay, I have to find out by myself. It might take longer, but here we are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of confirm that. I mean, I find people exactly have this thing where they want to explain things, and I'm very careful to tell when I'm teaching, for example, I say, we don't know how this happens, we don't know how this works. There are a lot of explanations, and that's what they are. They're explanations, but they're not necessarily right.
Yeah. You don't know if they're right or wrong. It's just you have to be aware that this is only a theoretical construct.
Yeah, and for me also, I felt like it was traumatic for me personally, like suddenly feeling energy and feeling distance energy, and and feeling energy over time, which is something he taught within 3 days. It was a bit too fast, and I felt like, well, if there's so much that I didn't know that's there, what else don't I know? Yeah, I'm not going to be too quick to say, yeah, now before I didn't know and now I know. That would be kind of like making the same mistake over again. So yeah, it's interesting you've got a similar so then you kind of like little bit like gurus that say, I've got all the answers, a bit of a turn off, which I personally could like to say to everybody, yeah, kind of the guy that says I don't know is much more, I'm much more able to trust somebody like that than somebody who says I know everything. So what about, where did you go from there?
So I had these 2 different lives for a while.
Right.
And then I gradually integrated parts of my energetic thinking or psi thinking into my other work. I trained different things just in going my way. I trained hypnosis, so medical hypnosis. I trained. It's a German working method called constellation work,
Yes.
Aufstellungsarbeit. It's not very known in
Hellinger, no, it's family constellations. It's quite
yeah,
broad.
yeah.
Quite, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't can't you cannot only do it with families and in the
Exactly.
original context, you can also do it in a very abstract context to find
Yes.
out about things. Um,
Right.
yeah, so and then I applied this constellation work on decision making processes in my company. And I found some of my clients actually were interested in talking about what I'm doing and how I approach things and in the more intuitive part. Because so for design work, it's kind of related to intuition. So from nature, you don't
Yeah.
have to explain that much. Um, so I experienced that parts of my original anxiety were unnecessary. Um, Still decided not to do it professional, but it came more together over the years. And then I sold this company, founded another company, and I founded a publishing house in the middle of, yeah, I think 2014, 15, whatever. And I went to a book fair for small publishers. So just all the people who have these little publishing businesses, and we had a big hall in Berlin, and we had rows of tables, and each one had a table and had to lie the books on a table and present them to the public. And this was 2019. And right across, there was another guy with his books. And the other publisher said, "Oh, he's kind of crazy, and he does this strange stuff, and it's called remote viewing and whatever." So I went over to him and said, "Please explain me your topic. So I'm interested in hearing what you're doing." And he explained it to me, and he said two things that immediately caught my attention. He told me about analytical overlay.
Yeah.
I've never had people in this whole psi work talking about, we acknowledge the occurrence of analytical overlay, and we found ways to deal with it. This sounds interesting. And then he told me there are 20 years or more of research, of actual research on remote viewing. Now it's 50 years in total, but yeah, he told me about the SI times and military times, and this is where I said, okay, I have to look into this topic. What I wanted to mention earlier, I have a very grounded background from my family. So both my mother and my father physics and mathematics teachers, and both my brothers are engineers. And so I wouldn't say I'm the black sheep, but I'm the other one in the family, the creative one. So, and just, yeah, I was just caught by these two facts, and I said, okay, I have to train it, and bought the books and made appointment for a course, and then Corona crossed our plans. But we went on in 2020 to train. So I got my first full remote viewing training from him, and then after that I oriented back to the roots and learned my way back to the original methods.
Right. Yes. How nice. I mean, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying. I mean, the AOL, because I mean, I think it was 2006 that I had Lynn in Germany. Believe it or not, I invited Lynn over, Lynn Buchanan, and I was blown away. But I was blown away first of all by the whole story behind it. You know, this David Morehouse, and then Lynn, and blah blah blah, and then I was blown away by my own experiences. Even though I'd held all this energy work, but I'd got somebody who'd saying, wait a minute, there's science to this. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we know about this. Oh, yeah, well, the military's used it. The CIA has done it. And by the way, it's very secret. It's so secret that we'll make anybody that says they can do it feel like an idiot. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're going to debunk it if you say it's real. We're going to make you feel like a dopey, dope. Yeah, I mean, there's two things there. So it's fascinating that you're also drawn to me. I mean, I'm very, very interested in that story of the protocol that Ingo Swann developed of remote viewing. And then I'm interested in how was your first experience of doing a session and getting it right? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. So it's a common thing that you have this first-time effect in remote viewing. So, normally, your first 1 or 2 or 3 sessions are very good. It didn't happen for me. So my first session was totally off, and my second as well. And I just trained and I got better and better. So I would say I'm pretty good now, but it's possible that this first time effect didn't happen for me because I had my other remote whatever work before. Don't know. You can't prove it. But I had no doubt. So it didn't discourage me because I'm used to train things. Other things in life, of course, but yeah, I just thought to myself, okay, if I'm doing this more often, I will finally have my results, and it happened. It happened quick, so it just took me a few months to make this curve and get better and better. And yeah, remote viewers don't always hit the target. It's just
Yes.
You can get a certain quality of work. And about this time, I wanted to I still want to find out more about how it works, how it functions, and so on. And this made me look into the international remote viewing scene and find other people. And you mentioned Morehouse. I trained with Morehouse. I trained with Gunther Rattay, who brought remote viewing to Germany in 1996. And I trained with Paul, who taught Morehouse and Lynn Buchanan. So, and it's one of the I know you interviewed him, so he's one of the few people who got original training from Ingo.
Really enjoyed talking with you very much.
And I discovered that with every step I took back in the direction of the original protocol, it went better for me. I can just speak for myself, but the original method, so what Paul teaches, seems to work much better for me than what I learned in the first place, and might be different for other people. So when I work with other remote viewers, I have some viewers who are very excellent by doing TRV or other methods. So they get impressive results, not using CRV or whatever. So apparently it's just a matter of what fits you or what suits you.
I won't let you don't have to comment on it, but it seems like to a certain extent that a central core has been copied a little bit and changed a little bit so that we can say, oh, this is TRV and this is CRV and that is UAV or whatever. So that there's obviously, it's staying very, very close to the the central idea, but everybody's got their own take, and is, you know, with the best intentions in the world, is showing them the best way that they do. And that happens in the martial arts when we're doing kung fu or tai chi. Somebody
or
gets
yoga, yeah.
or yoga, somebody gets a specialist area and they go, okay, this I really understand, this I can really show. And I mean, I got a feeling for Paul, because he helped me with my senior project for my psychology degree, and he was very helpful and very kind. So he's got a special place in my heart as a person, and he's very, very critical. He's got a very, very good critical mind. So that's really nice. And I learned with Lynn, and Lynn is very, very giving, very, very generous. And I found that was also good. But I also felt like, well, I would like to learn the others, because I'm a bit of an Ingo fanboy. You know, I read everything, and I think he's just a genius. So.
Yeah, absolutely. My original intent was just to learn all of the methods and then compare what I can take out of it. And yeah, it went in this other direction too. I'm not interested in learning all of the methods, probably a few others. So what I found is, yeah, there is a certain core that is similar. You wouldn't see a lot of differences just in the written transcripts. If you just compare what's on the paper, it looks very similar. But what is different is the theoretical background and the explanation of how you approach things. And this is very, very different from one teacher to the other. And it's kind of a world view and remote viewing. And if you have a different world view, so just all is evolving around and changing. And it might be that, so it's just again, it's normal human behavior, like in martial arts. Or I had this with my other hobby, bow hunting and building bows. So people come and learn a technique, like you learn how to build your own bow, and then they go out the door and say, okay, I can now go teach people how to build a bow. Of course they can, but they won't have the background that a teacher has that does it, who does it for decades, or the experience with the material and stuff. And I think I read somewhere, if you take a course, you go out the door and you remember about 70% of what you have heard. It's just I experienced myself when I was assisting in courses. I had the chance to assist Paul and went over my basic course folder, and I discovered things that I have just forgotten. So you take 70%, you go and teach the 70%, and again your student keeps 70%.
Yeah.
So in the third or fourth generation, you have probably half of the original content. And this is what one of my other teachers did. He asked himself, okay, there is apparently something missing. And he concluded that the original guys just didn't know it. He said, "Oh, the old military guys, they had no clue, so I'm doing it better." And he tried to fill the gaps with his own conclusions, with his theories, and yeah, made another whole 100% out of it. But he didn't have the genius that Ingo had, or have seen things differently. And this then created a new method. And this process is going on and on. So it's just natural. You can see each one in this process has only the best intentions to do it, but it is a problem for each technique, for bow, for building a bow, for martial arts, for remote viewing, whatever, to transport the complete package.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean, yes. I mean, we're getting into an area which I think, I think everybody's going to have a comment on. And essentially, I mean, bows, fascinating. I did Japanese Kyudo when I was living in Japan. And
Yeah.
and the whole of Kung Fu, you have something called Gongeng, which is bow power. So you release your power through an internal bow. So I was actually writing about it recently, about this gong. Gong is bow, yeah, in Chinese.
Okay.
Gong
Yeah.
power, gong jin. Yeah. Anyway, but I think we could talk around that for a long time. But I'm kind of curious, and bearing in mind we don't have that much more time to talk about your operational targets. I mean, you moved at some point to doing and being a tasker. You take people's requests to do remote viewing, and you turn it into a project so that somebody will go absolutely blind. So you have somebody who doesn't know anything about the target will be given the task to view something. So you're doing that, is that right?
Yeah, it's one of the activities in this field.
Mm-hmm.
It comes naturally if you are exposed as a remote viewer, and there's a website with a lot of talking about remote viewing, with a big glossary explaining terms and so on. And so I just get a lot of emails asking for help with remote viewing to solve certain problems. I don't accept many of them because a lot of these inquiries are just not feasible, or they have different opinions about what remote viewing is. Right. There are projects that are interesting, either for finding out more about remote viewing or for solving the problems. And we have both paid work and pro bono work. And over time, it just, it is I wouldn't say a formal network. So we have remote viewing service providers out there. And it just happened that you connect with other people, and I have a bunch of remote viewers that I regularly work with, both training and operational. And in this, we call it operational work. So just doing problem solving in the real world. You have to be very careful to avoid any preconceptions, bias, overlay for the viewers. They will. I did some mistakes in the early work, so where I see that probably my own assumptions about the target were going into the tasking, and somehow the remote viewers picked up on this, what my expectations were. And we found ways to avoid this, and for several taskings we work with a second tasker and have a two-step tasking process just to rule out certain overlays.
Yes, because there's even psychic overlay, isn't there? There's analytical overlay, and then there's psychic overlay. Because if you're working with psychics and the tasker knows what the task is, then they can go, well, what does he want to know? And that's fascinating.
So the explanation is very easy. So if you look at the process of tasking, it actually I very often say the simple process of tasking is one of the biggest magic parts in remote viewing, because you have a question, you assign this tasking number, And then at each point, any remote viewer could access, using this number, could access your target. So with your mental work in assigning a number, you created a fact. You created a fact in reality, even if it's not physical, but there is a fact.
Yeah.
You affected the whole world and yeah, implemented something into history, whatever. So if you create this connection and establish a number in whatever, in the matrix, you can easily establish information assigned with this number. So being neutral is very important, and it sounds easier as it is.
Yes.
About being neutral about the target. You would, of course, also assign your beliefs.
Yeah.
So how to avoid this? We are still working on processes, and we found out some other processes, but this is what I would say people who are new to remote viewing often they don't take into account that this happens.
Yeah.
They just formulate their target and what do they want to know, and the expectations are that they would observe from a neutral position, but they don't.
It's,
And then
isn't it the Dunning-Kruger effect? Have you heard of that?
Now, Dunning-Kruger effect, yeah, Dunning-Kruger
People with
effect.
a little bit of knowledge, they tend to think that they know more than they do. Yeah, they tend to be a little bit overconfident.
The more knowledge you gather, the more humble you are.
The more humble you become, yes.
and knowing what you don't know. Yeah, true. Yeah, it's just they have no idea of what's happening. Ingo wrote a good article about a telepathic overlay. And they also had some experiments to get into this matter. And it's just looking at the tasking process, it's obvious that there is this problem. And we have not only to learn to access a target using remote viewing, okay, but we have to learn to do with the whole process and doing it correctly, even in analysis. There are so many issues that you can do wrong as an analyst.
Yes, fascinating. Yeah. I want to ask you, so my favorite topic is where I got hung up on remote viewing, because it was, for me, going to the target, it was so visceral. It was actually kind of scary when I was there. Like I found, so how did you get over that? Or did you have that experience where just going to targets where you, because I feel like you're really there. I mean, if that's hard for anybody just watching, they're going to go, well, what's he talking about? But like, if it's a scene of some sensational or spectacular event, you feel it. Your whole body feels it. At least I did. I mean, how did you have that experience, and how did you get over it?
Oh, first, I find fascinating, even in the earlier stages when you're just collecting sensory input and you can touch the surface of a target and you feel it. It's just fascinating. And I had some sessions where I was in situations that felt uncomfortable, but I never had I always knew I'm also here on my desk with my paper and my pen, so I'm not totally there. I didn't go totally into the site. And this, yeah, it's just this interplay with being here, there. So this is this bilocation term, which means having the balance of being here and there. And it's okay. It's just interesting to experience.
Right.
Yeah, and if you experience,
that seems to be the feedback from other viewers. It's like, yeah, there's this thing there, and I experienced it. But I guess maybe I'm a more sensitive soul, and I'm like, whoa, I would run away if that's there. I don't want to experience that. But
yeah, so you're talking about emotional, difficult emotional content.
Yeah, I guess so.
It never went so deep for me that I was really scared. I just watched myself being scared in the target, but I at the same time knew I'm here. So, but I heard accounts from other viewers who are very, very deep immersed in the site and have problems to distinct from the perceived or observed feelings. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, I think there's a whole area which is yet to be discovered of these almost psychic illnesses, where we have like a PTSD, where actually nothing's happened. So we call it PTSD by proxy, when we even see a photo of something bad happening and saying, I feel like I experienced it. But I mean, I think at least that was sort of similar to my experience, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I never had somebody sending me into a real splatter situation. So I have not seen people exploding or something. I was in what some
luckily
criminal. Yeah, what? Yeah, I know people have.
But you've done the forensic work, though, haven't you? You've worked with, I guess, with criminal cases where maybe even murder or harm has been involved.
Yeah, as a viewer, yeah. I don't work this kind of targets very much from a project manager standpoint, because you have to work closely with the authorities. I won't accept cases where we are just working for the clients and not for no authorities are involved. And this again is not possible in Germany.
Right.
Or let's say not legal. And there are people around the world in Australia, in America, working with this kind of cases. And so most of my experience in this field is from the viewpoint of a remote viewer.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's mostly looking for a missing person, or I had some descriptions of events, but not that much. So maybe I'm just fortunate at this point.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, well, it'd be lovely to keep in touch with you. And Jana, I think you've got a fascinating story which is going to help people in their own process. And I know you're there in a way at a kind of forefront of making remote viewing accessible in Europe, at least in Germany, through the courses that you're running and so on. So, thank you so much for sharing.
So technically not I run the courses, Paul is. So I get Paul coming over here and giving the courses. I assist, I organize, I assist. Yeah. I want to avoid to be one of these 70% people. So I'm just keep on learning, and we'll do it later. So we already have remote viewing training in Germany. So I wouldn't have learned it without having trainers and teachers here. It's just the original CRV is what I promote over here.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch, and do keep us posted on how things develop with you.
Yeah. Okay, then thank you for having me here. And I'm really surprised how fast the hour has flown by. Yeah. Okay.